trying to read from the incredible thing I had for you, but I cannot get my phone working. So I was just going to say that I was reading about your biography before, and Hercules is a very important person, has done a lot of mentorship in his life, had incredible positions, was a CTO of a very large company that was sold for something like $90 million or something like that.
Yeah.
And is a very interesting character that will certainly talk to us about what he does. But before we start, I'd like to go for where you're from, Hercules. Tell us about it.
It's a good question. I'm from the future. But really, I used to be a very famous comedian long time ago. Long time ago.
Right. So you were a comedian a long time ago. Tell us about it. Comedian.
Yeah, it's been quite a while now, and but you know, it's been a while. It's a long time ago.
Yeah. All right. So what made you move to Dubai? How did you come here?
Well, I had a gallery in London during the lockdown in COVID. We operated under the radar, doing a lot of illegal raves and things under the kind of like, you know, events and exhibitions that we were doing. And then we had to kind of close down because of the COVID. So I've been working on other options, and it was like to look at creating virtual galleries in Meadowverse.
What was that, the gallery in Covent Garden when you're referring to? The one?
Well, the gallery in Covent Garden, we also scanned it and have had it in a kind of traditional VR sense. But then I worked on creating a kind of iteration of it with some developers I'm working with, Grapevine, to create the Meadowverse the way we wanted it to be.
Right, that was exactly actually my next point. So you've been hearing the whole day actually about the Metaverse. This is why we're here.
Yeah.
So how do you see this fantastic new culture of the Metaverse going forward? Particularly, what kind of impact do you see in our world?
Well, I think Metaverse is an amazing opportunity. I've seen different waves of technology from like almost letterpress to light to offset to laser printing and then internet and, you know, web and, you know, this new iteration of Web 0.2 and then Web 0.3.0. So I think the Metaverse is a completely different game changer. I used to, in those days, like nearly 20 years ago, I used to play Second Life. And I've been doing a lot of other games in Unreal and stuff like that. But what's happening now with the combination of what the cryptocurrency and NFTs and blockchains within this space, and the ability for people to have their own control over their own space. So no longer you're dictated by massive conglomerates like Facebook, even though Facebook is trying to brand it as Meta, but it's far from it.
Right.
The control is really not in the hand of the big players. You can have your own space and have your own control within that Metaverse.
Right.
Which is something that is a game changer.
Absolutely. Now, just staying for a second on the NFTs, okay? Now, this is a little bit outside the Metaverse specific speech, but how much do you think NFTs is a whole bunch of hype? Or how much do you think this is very real, something is happening and the reasons for it?
No, NFT, I worked for companies who wanted to create new iteration of certificate of authenticity, for example. And that's a problem that the art world has had to verify that an artwork is authentic. And what is blockchain and NFTs offering is precisely that certificate of authenticity for each piece of work that you have. It's like a deed to a house. You got to see it in that way. A house on its own is worthless without the deed. So having that certificate in the blockchain as a unique ID makes it valuable. Then you can trade that. Yes, in digital world, the works can be copied in different sense, but you can do that with technology now. With what the 8K screens we have is much better quality than any printing system that we have available at the
Right.
moment.
So you're basically saying that via NFTs we have a way of tracing the origin of a specific art piece. Is that correct?
Well, and you can also follow the provenance of the art piece. You can see the history of its changing hand, and so that in itself is quite useful and important for the because quite often you see a piece of work that you might come across, but you don't know the history of it. You don't know whether it's been stolen, whether it's been who was the last owner. But through that blockchain, you can actually trace back where it comes from.
Now, staying on the NFT side, because I think it's important for you to know, one of the things that's happening right now is that some artists believe that if they put their art as an NFT into the market, and I'm talking purely financially here, the price of their art will be higher in the sort of blockchain environment than if they go through a standard party like Sotheby's or Christie's. Do you think that that's the case?
Well, there's possibilities of that, because the works of art that are turned from the original piece to NFT often have another dimension added to them. I'm actually having a piece in the art fair next week, or this week, later, Dubai Art Fair by Moro Collective, and they basically take your work and they tailor it to become a kind of animated NFT piece. Yes, I could do that myself, or get somebody to do. But by the interaction of their input, they've added another dimension to my work.
Right.
So this kind of interaction is so the NFT is not just a physical thing, but there are some added dimension to it.
What about the market size? I mean, obviously, if you sell an NFT piece at Sotheby's or Christie's, you have a specific market that they have in terms of clients or client base. Do you think that doing this via an NFT offers the artist more of a global marketplace?
Well, sure, but I think it's the kind of the marketplace and the structure of it is very new. There are not many leading players as such, and the quality of the work is not often that great. There is not much curatorial input in there as in traditional art exhibitions. I think that element of it is very important, and at our wonderful culture, because we've been involved in, I'm a curator for most of my life. I've put on exhibitions of a different kind, and having that ability to also curate the work in the Meadowverse in such a way that the work is of quality, not just, because it has to have certain team or value to the exhibitions that you put on in Meadowverse, like it is in the real world. That's what I think is lacking in a lot of the platforms out there.
So Hercules, we don't have a lot more time, but I'd like to ask you a question which you can give the answer to the audience. Are there any very specific projects you're working on in the blockchain, Metaverse, or NFT that you're working on right now that you would like to tell us about?
Yeah, well, there's a number of things that I'm working on. One is that with the Metaverse Gallery, we created the first Metaverse Gallery for Firuz Farmayan, which is one of our artists I work with. And Janet Rady, which is a friend of mine, she's also curating the show of his at the Venice Biennale, which is the first time Kyrgyz Republic are participating at the Venice Biennale. Venice Biennale is like one of the oldest, most respected cultural institution in the world. It's been going on since 1890s for more than 120 years. And it's not unlike a lot of other art fairs. It's not goes on to like 2 or 3 days. It goes on for six months.
Yeah.
And each country has a pavilion dedicated to them. And so it's a very important, and the piece that he's doing is also very important. And we are also working with our Meadowverse developers to create a new experience with that in the Metaverse, as well as other events and exhibitions that would take place in our Metaverse. Our Metaverse is a place where you can interact, we can have events there, you can meet people. So there's a lot of opportunities it's opening up to us for people to participate. And we're really excited to have Firuz coming over next week. Well, in fact, later on this week, he's coming for the Dubai Art Fair, and he's followed by a French film crew that have been serializing his journey throughout. He's coming from, Kyrgyzstan, then he's been going to London and Spain, and he's coming. So it's going to be quite an interesting documentary, I think.
Perfect.
And because the theme that he's working on is about the folkloric and mythologies of the area, which is also encompasses the whole of Middle East almost. Turan is a kind of it's called Gate of Turan. And Gate of Turan is kind of mythological space, but it's also a real land as well. That's where the conflict's been going on for many centuries. And people have created a lot of the mythologies that we, Indo-European mythologies that we hear is from the stories that come from these conflicts that have been taken up in these lands.
Perfect.
So and he's working with the villages and nomads, because he's himself from a very nomadic, old, respected nomadic family.
Perfect. Now, I'm sure, Hercules, many people in this audience will like to follow you and follow your products and projects, sorry. Is there a specific website they can go to follow your projects?
Yeah, I mean, ourwonderfulculture.com is one. Hercs.org is another of my own website. I'm also, another thing I want to announce is I'm working with a number of artists from London and elsewhere who are very concerned about the situation in Ukraine and the war that's taking place. And I'm helping to put together Metaverse for Peace. And I wanted to make an announcement about that. And we want to get people to come forward and participate. All the artists can give their work to, and this is totally, I mean, Our Wonderful Culture itself, over the years, has been an artist-run organization. We've, and had been for not for profit, but now we're creating funds and we're creating ways that people can invest in good art as well as traditional art for benefit. Because the art, as a kind of like a portfolio, performs better than any other stock or property. So It is a very important thing. We're working with number of art funds globally to create a kind of a boutique art fund for that. And it's good to kind of, at the same time, we work on these kind of projects where there's benefit, and we're working, so Metaverse for Peace is already registered, and I like to have people to come forward. They can come and see me at the booth and I've had amazing response so far. We are being connected to universities, and a lot of the other companies have been here are very supportive of it. So we want to get people to be able to mint these works for free and be able to give all the proceeds for the good causes, for the benefit of people who are suffering from these wars that are being created.
Well, that is certainly a fantastic initiative. I would concur with you, Hercules. I do encourage you all to go and visit the booth. Where is it? In the back there?
Yeah,
Hercules,
we're
right?
just behind there.
Right.
And also I'm on LinkedIn. I'm pretty, if you Google, I'm quite Googleable. So if you, you'll see quite a bit of history.
So Google Hercules Fischerman for all these initiatives. Go see him to the booth, and would like to thank him very much for his answers and his time. A big applause for him, please.
Well, thank you, Gustav, for inviting me here, and it's great to be part of MetaWeek. There are amazing stands here, and it's lovely to meet you again.
Very welcome to do so. Thank you very much.
Bye.